The magical world of tooth fairies, once hidden from the human eye, was always full of wonder and mystery. But like all stories, some dreams come to an end. In a quiet suburban town, nestled among ordinary homes, lived Thomas, an ordinary man with an extraordinary past. He had once been married to a tooth fairy named Lyra. She had come into his life one night, a whisper of fairy dust and a glowing smile, and within months, they were married. Their life together was nothing short of magical. They would share stories under the moonlight, and Lyra's wings fluttered with a gentle magic that brought light into their home. They had a son, Ben, who was a bright, cheerful boy, and the couple's love seemed to grow every day. Lyra would often fly out at night to collect lost teeth, returning with tokens of magic that would make their little house glow. It was a life Thomas never could have dreamed up, filled with wonder, joy, and an unspoken promise of forever. But nothing lasts forever. As the years went by, Thomas began to notice subtle changes. Lyra grew distant, distracted by her duties as a tooth fairy, and Thomas, feeling the growing emptiness, found himself working longer hours. The warmth that once filled their home seemed to fade as Lyra spent more time in fairyland, attending to her duties with an ever-diminishing connection to Thomas. One evening, after a long day of arguing, Lyra returned with a heavy heart and a sigh. She told Thomas she couldn't continue the marriage. She had fallen out of love, pulled in too many directions by her magical duties and the responsibility of keeping fairyland in balance. Thomas, devastated, didn't know what to say. The life they had built together, all the magic, the wonder, had unraveled before him in the blink of an eye. The divorce was swift. Thomas never saw it coming. Lyra left fairyland to live separately, and she took Ben with her, returning to the magical realm where Thomas could not follow. Yet, it wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the beginning of a long, strange battle that would change Thomas's life forever. It wasn't long after the divorce when things took a bizarre turn. Thomas was sitting in his modest living room, nursing a glass of whiskey and feeling the weight of the broken family around him. He had just begun to find his footing in a world without magic when he received a letter that would forever alter the course of his life. The letter was formal, stamped with a seal unlike any he had ever seen. It had a deep red wax symbol, an image of an ancient symbol of justice intertwined with demonic runes. At first, Thomas thought it was some kind of cruel joke. However, as he opened the letter, the truth of the situation hit him like a thunderclap. He was being sued, but not for money, not for anything he could have anticipated. The lawsuit was filed by Lyra's lawyer, and the charge, emotional damages. The letter explained that as part of the divorce, Thomas had unknowingly inflicted great emotional distress on his ex-wife, and she sought compensation. But this wasn't some mundane claim for financial settlement. No, Lyra's lawyer wasn't any ordinary human attorney. She had hired a demon, a slick and polished creature named Azazel, who claimed that the damages weren't measured in dollars but in something much more precious, childhood memories. Azazel had been working for centuries as a legal expert, manipulating magical contracts and twisting fates with the same ease that one would draft a standard document. His eyes gleamed with a knowledge far beyond human understanding. His presence, when he arrived at Thomas's home to inform him of the case, was nothing short of overwhelming. With a voice that carried the weight of ancient contracts, Azazel explained that Lyra's claim was based on the notion that Thomas had deprived their son of memories that were supposed to be magical, memories that, according to supernatural law, belonged to Lyra as a tooth fairy. It turned out that the rules of fairyland were more complex than Thomas had ever imagined. As a human, he didn't have access to these magical laws, and Lyra had used them to her advantage. With the lawsuit filed, Thomas was now bound by this strange, otherworldly legal battle, and Azazel, the demon lawyer, was eager to extract his dues. The trial was set to take place in the ethereal courts of fairyland. The courtroom was unlike anything Thomas had ever seen. It wasn't in a building but suspended in a vast, twilight sky, where the very stars seemed to pulse with an eerie energy. The judge was a towering, ancient being made of shadows and light, neither human nor fairy, but something in between. Azazel stood before the court with his dark suit, his slick black hair combed perfectly. He spoke with such authority that even the stars seemed to dim in respect. His words were laced with an unsettling charm, and he laid out the case with calculated precision. "You, Thomas, have taken what was not yours," Azazel said. "The memories of a child are sacred, especially when they are woven with the magic of fairyland. You were given the privilege to share in these moments, but instead, you robbed them from your son. Lyra's memories, and through them, Ben's, have been tainted by your human shortcomings. As payment, we seek his happiest moments. All the memories of joy, love, and magic that you shared together. You will hand them over to us. That is the alimony." The courtroom fell silent. Thomas could hardly believe his ears. His memories, was it possible to lose them? To have them torn away from him in a legal battle fought in a realm he barely understood? Azazel's demand was both absurd and chilling. In a world where memories could be sold, bought, and stolen, the court ruled that Thomas was bound to comply. He was given a choice: hand over the memories willingly, or face eternal torment in the astral plane, a place where the mind could never escape. Thomas, horrified, realized that if he lost, he would lose everything: his happiest moments, the time he had shared with his son, the love that had once filled their home. All of it could be erased, replaced by nothing but empty space in his mind. The trial stretched on for weeks, each day more surreal than the last. As the days wore on, Thomas began to feel his memories slipping away. His dreams would fade upon waking, and moments of clarity grew shorter and shorter. He tried to hold on to them, but they were like wisps of smoke, slipping through his fingers. Ben, his young son, became the center of the trial. Azazel demanded that Ben's memories be handed over in exchange for Thomas's alimony payment. Lyra's role in all of this was shadowy. At times, she seemed conflicted, torn between her magical duties and her human past. She would visit the courtroom, her wings heavy with regret, but she never spoke, and she never intervened. One night, as the court session ended, Thomas wandered into the outskirts of fairyland, desperate to find a way to save his memories. In the quiet dark of the forest, he met an ancient sage, a forgotten creature of memory who offered a single piece of advice. "Memories, once stolen, can be returned," the sage whispered. "But only through sacrifice. You must give something greater than your memories, something irreplaceable." Thomas's heart raced as he realized what he had to do. The only way to reclaim his past was to offer something even more precious, his own heart. He returned to the courtroom, heart heavy with the weight of the decision. As the final verdict was about to be delivered, Thomas made the ultimate sacrifice. He stood tall before the judge and offered his heart, knowing that it was the only way to restore what he had lost. Azazel, amused by Thomas's desperation, agreed to the deal. With a snap of his fingers, the memories that had been stolen were returned to Thomas, flooding his mind with images of Ben's laughter, the warmth of their family moments, the glow of Lyra's wings in the moonlight. But the price was steep. Thomas felt his heartbeat slow, his energy drain. The memories of his life, his love for Lyra, the joy of fatherhood, were all intact. But the very essence of his being was now tied to a threadbare existence. His heart, once full of love and warmth, was now empty, a hollow shell of its former self. Lyra, witnessing the sacrifice, finally spoke. "Thomas, I never wanted this. I never wanted you to lose yourself." Her voice cracked, and for the first time, Thomas saw the pain behind her eyes. She reached out, but it was too late. The courtroom fell silent, the judge's gavel striking with the weight of finality. The deal had been made. As Thomas left the ethereal court, his memories intact, but his heart forever altered, he realized that the alimony had been more than just a payment for emotional damage. It had been a lesson. Sometimes, love comes at the greatest cost. And though he had won back his memories, he had lost something far more precious, the part of him that had once made those memories so meaningful. The journey ahead would be one of healing, but the past would never be quite the same. In the end, Thomas returned home, and though the memories of a once magical life remained, the magic was gone, leaving only a lingering echo of what had once been. The Tooth Fairy's lawyer, Azazel, vanished into the shadows, content with his victory, another soul marked by the price of love. But the story of Thomas and Lyra, of sacrifice and redemption, would be whispered through the ages, a reminder of the true cost of magic in the real world.